If you think investing alone is going to make you rich, you are wrong. There's this common belief that investing will make us rich, but when we take a closer look, there are 3 components in order for that to be true, and we only have real control over one. So let's talk about those 3 components. To become rich with investing, we rely mostly on compound interest. And when we look at the formula of compound interest, there are 3 crucial factors. The first one is time, and that means the time our money is invested, and the longer it is invested, the better for us. Now the problem is that our time horizon is always limited, because someday we will die and we don't know when that's going to be. So I guess the absolute luckiest is when your parents started investing for you at your birth, and then you happen to live to a very old age. Then compound interest will absolutely play in your favor. In all the other cases, it depends on when you start to save and invest. So you maybe have 20 or 30 or 40 years. And I would like to take an example here from Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money, where he talks about Warren Buffett, who is one of the greatest investors of our time. And he was doing nothing but investing for his whole life. He started at the age of 10 and he still keeps to invest right now when he is 93. And Morgan Housel writes, as I write this, Warren Buffett's net worth is $84 billion. Of that, $84.2 billion was accumulated after his 50th birthday. $81.5 billion came after he qualified for Social Security in his mid-60s. Now, of course, we are talking about huge numbers here. And also because it's an investment firm, there's a lot of leverage behind it. So money from other people. But what Morgan Housel says is that if Warren Buffett had started later in life or would have stopped earlier, like normal people would do, those results never would have happened. And the problem for us is that the extent to which we control the time is just limited. I mean, we can start to invest as early as possible, but when you just discover this video in your 40s or in your 50s, you kind of just have to work with what you got. Then we can invest as long as possible, so to not interrupt compounding by taking the money out, and we can keep a healthy lifestyle in order to live as healthy and as long as possible. As a doctor myself, I can tell you that it does have an impact on the majority of people because many diseases are just due to lifestyle. But I also can tell you that sometimes it's just out of your hands. So there is only so much we can do to control this factor of time. So let's look at the next component, and that is the interest yield. So how big our money grows depends on the returns we get on the investments. And investment returns vary all the time. Returns are especially not guaranteed, and they also are very closely tied to risk. So this will depend on how much risk you're willing to take. And that again should depend on many other factors like your net worth and your earning capacity and also your time horizon and your risk tolerance. And we do control the risk by our level of diversification, so to not put all of your eggs into one basket. That keeps us from losing everything, but it also limits the returns. So if you're getting a return of 6% or 10% or 12%, and those are average numbers over decades, those are pretty good numbers. But that's already as realistic as you can get. And let's look at an example here. If we invest $1,000 and let's even calculate with an extraordinary 20% return, which will be very hard to keep up over decades, that still only leaves you with $1,200 at the end. And you can't live off $200. And that brings us to the third component, which is the only component that we really can control, and that is the principal. The principal is the amount that we invest, and the more we invest, the more we get out of it. So to come back to our calculating example, if we invest $100,000 with a 20% return, we end up with $120,000. Now $20,000 can already take care of some bills throughout the year. So increasing the principal is the real lever in building wealth, and it is the one that's 100% in our control. So in order to increase our principal, there are mainly 2 ways. The first one is save more and then invest more. But the thing here is that how much you can save will depend on your income. There is always going to be a limit to cutting costs, especially if your income is not that high. So the second way is to earn more. And there really is no limit to how much you can earn. So how can we earn more or increase our income? I would say there are mainly 4 ways. The first one is just ask for a raise at your current job. The second is switch your job in order to get a higher salary. The third one is diversify over different income streams. One component of that is is to keep investing into assets because they give you a return. Another one would be to consider freelance work because it also adds an additional income stream. Or third, to start any other kind of side hustle to earn more income. And the fourth way is to start a business because if you do it right, there will be no limit to what you can earn. So ultimately, it's a combination of starting to invest in the first place and then keep on working to increase your principal that will lead us to financial freedom. By the way, the topic of this video and also the 3 components was inspired by a book, The Millionaire Fast Lane from MJ DeMarco. I'll link it down in the video description. If you want to learn more about the different ways to become a millionaire, I recommend this video next. Thank you if you've watched so far. I hope you got some value out of this and I hopefully see you in the next video. Bye bye.